we are going to spin back in time with the panelists from last year, virtually. JL, Alexander, yes. We've got Rumap, and we've got Monica Garrison from the movement that Ford brought us on board to help with, called the We Do campaign with the Broncos sport. So from then all the way till now, we are going to get into this. We're going to touch base on what we've been up to, as well as even going further into this conversation on wellness, especially when it comes to the great outdoors. Contrary to what folks believe, Black women do spend time outdoors. You're looking at 4 of us who love to do so. So we're going to discuss wellness. Why? Because we're at the Essence Wellness House. And with these experts who all lead outdoor and wellness-based organizations. So let's talk a little bit about each of your organizations, and I'll give each of you ladies the ability to give us a quick rundown on what your organization is and what it offers. So, Ms. JL, starting with you.
Good morning. My name is JL Alexander. I'm the owner and CEO of Black Girls Run, and what I like to coin us is at the dopest running crew on the pavement. And so we have a footprint across the nation that encourages women to make active living and healthy living a lifestyle through the activity of running, and provide a safe space for women to come together, but also increase the awareness that impact the disparities that impact the Black women in our community. So we do that through running national movements, conferences across the country, and train women to run 5K, 10Ks, half marathons, and so on and so forth of the sport. So yeah, so happy to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rue Mapp. I'm the founder and CEO of Outdoor Afro. And we celebrate and inspire Black leadership and connections in nature. And we do this through a volunteer program. This year's class of trained volunteers is almost 120 men and women, representing almost 40 states, 56 cities, and we have a participation network now of 60,000 people who hike and bike and camp and get their outdoor joy and their nature swagger back. So I'm really thrilled to be here. I was so excited because we're all here together for the first time since the pandemic. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming out.
And I just want to interrupt real quick and say, Rue went hiking with Oprah.
Yes.
I mean, that's, that's no small feat. I mean, who gets to, take a hike with Lady O? Kind of a big deal.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monica Garrison. I'm the founder, executive director, and I like to say the chief storyteller at Black Girls Do Bike. We're a group of women who are growing and supporting a community of women who share a passion for cycling. So we just want to get you moving, get you outdoors, break down the barriers to getting you on a bike. We have including our first international chapter in the UK this year. And about 30,000 women support our rides and are there to support you if you'd like to start your cycling journey.
Awesome, awesome. So let's jump right into these questions. But I am really curious to know, how has your journey changed since last year? And what changes have you implemented to help with your wellness journey?
I'll kick off. Probably since my son was born 6 months before the pandemic, and I've also had a second child. It has impacted, especially becoming a mother during the pandemic, in terms of what it means to pour back into myself, make time for myself, make sure that I'm making time to hit the pavement and what brings me joy, and making that a priority. That's probably been the biggest thing during the pandemic. But then also just understanding the value of a village, and then realizing that Black Girls Run is my village as well, that I'm surrounded by amazing women that have also gone through the path of motherhood and creating businesses and all of that. And so making sure that I'm being transparent in my own stories, my own testimonies. That way other women can learn from me, and I can learn from my other over the last year in terms of how I pour back into myself.
Yeah, I really appreciated what you just said about pouring back into yourself, because I find that when you do a business that's about the outdoors, sometimes you look up and realize you ain't been outdoors. When's the last time? I think that in the last couple of years, it's been so important for me to remember the medicine, remember the why of this work, remember the healing and the joy of this work. And so for me, it's been about doubling down on just that. Maybe hunting, I'll be playing golf. I'm like doing all the things in the outdoors that, are pushing me too. They're not things that are easy for me to do. And so for me, it's been challenging myself in the wonderful invitation to marry this man, Darren Jones, sitting at the front row.
Hey, hubby.
I love it. Love it.
So I'm engaged. And I'm also, and to your point about youth and children in your life, I have young adult children. And during the pandemic, I had them and helping myself. So I'm happy to say that I finally have an empty nest. So on to the next chapter of life I go.
Look at her gazing in your eyes as she said that. Hey, stay with us here, Ruth. Stay with us.
I think I had a similar realization that Ruth did, that I realized that focusing on what was important was actually going to help me make it through and heal. And so I think what a lot of people did in the pandemic was realize that they needed to prioritize or reprioritize. What people do you want to keep around post-pandemic? What activities bring you true joy and don't just fill time and space and keep you distracted from other things? So I poured into my kids during the pandemic. I learned how to say no because a lot of people were trying to justify their jobs by keeping themselves busy, and I was not going to let them keep me busy too. So I learned the power of no and maybe later and let me think about it. And just realizing I made doctor's appointments because I was, neglecting those things. And because of the way our community was affected, I didn't want to be a statistic and not be here for my kids. So I started to, follow up on those things that I was letting, a couple of things I did.
I love that. Sounds like you guys are all checking in, and some of y'all was real busy, babies, engagements, doctor's appointments. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Wellness is key, and putting yourself first is a very big part of that. So how do you believe that wellness brings joy to finding the joy of wellness?
I think one thing that we say within Black Girls Run is you set your own pace. It's your race, your pace. So with wellness, it encompasses everything. It's not just the physical, it's not just the activity, but it's your wellness to others. It's just how you encompass everything. And so I think that's what we really preach in terms of, it's not just, you can't just go outside and run 3 miles and then come back in and eat whatever and then choose somebody out and you cussing in the parking lot. So it's, it's just making sure it's just 100% encompasses everything in terms of wellness. But then, like I said, the mantra that we preach is that it is your own, live outside of that box of comparison and making sure that you're being genuine to yourself and your own journey.
I couldn't agree more because it's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's the decisions you make to say, I'm not only going to help take care of myself, but also take care of the planet. And it's about this connectivity piece that I find that this work has really helped to bring forth that joy and that groundedness. And, I tell people that you can actually look out your windowsill in your kitchen and connect to nature and connect to that joy, to that flower in bloom, or to about these peak experiences, or even going on a hike. I try not to even tell people to go on hikes.
Stop saying, that's blasphemous.
Listen.
What are you talking about?
Listen, go for a stroll. That sounds a lot. Yeah, and so taking the hardness out of it is my point, right? So you can connect with nature in easy ways and have the same impact, positive impact, and positive, obviously, joy.
Can I get the question one more time?
Sure. I was like, by the time I get to Monica. So the question is, first of all, what's your best tip when it comes to finding the wellness of joy? And how do you believe wellness brings joy?
Diving recently into the negative health outcomes that women of color have with diseases that are either preventable by doing these 3 activities. And so I think to affect change in your health, right, so that you don't end up in situations where you have to advocate for yourself. So for me, as I said, making those doctor's appointments and getting those tests done and following up and all those things are that actually is joyful for me.
I love that. And here's another question I want to ask you guys, because for me, I've noticed a big shift in my adventures. It says, how has your connection to the world changed and alive during the pandemic? And how did you deal with anxiety, if any? For me personally, I spend a lot of time in the great outdoors. I'm a pilot, a diver, a mountaineer, like Bear Grylls in real life. And so in my adventures, and so when the pandemic hit, everyone's like, well, are you traveling still? And like, how does that affect you? For me, I wasn't around really anybody anyway, just me, the birds, the bees, the trees, and the bears. And so I did find, though, when the rest of the world, that's when I noticed that I wanted to start connecting with people more so, because I felt that other people were missing, you know, having that camaraderie, just someone to talk to. And so I found myself kind of reversing with someone else outdoors, of course, because we're in a pandemic, and it's hiking. Rue, listen, I'm gonna say hiking because we ain't going on no stroll if you kick it with me. Bring your boots, get your water, have your backpack, and we outside. But I'm very curious to know, you know, how have you kept connection alive during the panorama?
Well, you know, in the sport of running, it's all about mass gatherings. So we felt a shift very early and had to shift to virtual, running in a space by yourself, get a partner, get an accountability partner, do virtual races. I mean, creativity was out the wazoo during the pandemic, I would say that. But it was definitely outdoors. Even though we say we back outside now, the outdoors technically did not close. You could go outside just in a safe way. So we wanted people to still get outside, space for themselves to be healthy and to be active. And we just had to continue communicating that message. But it was definitely a huge shift for us in terms of how we continue to stay connected together. And so that was the idea that people would just have to remain healthy and well during this time. And we'll eventually get on the other side. I mean, and here we are now.
When you said virtual running, did you?
So virtual running, it's a virtual race, so you run anywhere, whether it's at the gym, treadmill, your neighborhood, or whatever, and then you check in once you've completed that race virtually. And then apps came out during the pandemic where everyone would tune in to the same. Like I said, creativity was through the wazoo during the pandemic. But yeah, virtual just means you can complete the activity anywhere you are.
Thank you for clarifying, because as you know, I was a track star in high school, and I hated practicing. So if you were going to tell me I needed to run, and I wasn't going to be doing that part.
No, it just wasn't at a race.
Okay.
You could do it anywhere.
Thank you.
Anywhere.
Thank you.
There you
okay,
go.
Good to know. Rue?
Well, you know, in a lot of ways, I felt that Outdoor Afro was really built for the moment. We as a kitchen table blog and a Facebook page. And so we had already a following. We had already been engaging. We had a lot of curriculum out there. We had done our first Outdoor Afro training virtually. And this was back in 2012. And so we felt ready. And also, as we've heard, it was that nature never closes. When everything else around us was closing, places of worship, the schools, restaurants, still look outside and know that the sun was still going to rise and set, that my rescue pit bull was still going to scratch her back on the grass, or that blue scrub jay is going to jump from limb to limb. And so that I had this constant, and it became really important to amplify that to more people, especially in times of despair, and I would say in more, like right now times of outrage, to remember constant and what will never close, even when the rest of the world may be going totally off the rails.
Yeah, I think, so Black Girls Do Bike, we scrambled a bit because, our whole community is around. We did, like Black Girls Run, we kind of pivoted and we started virtual rides, which were very great. But what happened, as most of you probably know, is the tide turned really quickly and people were like, well, you can't tell me I can't go outside. And so bikes were everywhere, walkers were everywhere, runners were everywhere. And so we actually grew during the pandemic. We tenfold almost. Our memberships swelled, became the center of a lot of people's lives, and therefore they found us as a result of it. And people were isolated from their families for a while, and then suddenly they were like, well, you can't tell me I can't, So the rebellion became a time with their families and their kids and their grandparents, and yeah, so it was a net positive, even though it was a crazy time, and I think we all benefited from it.
Awesome. So as we get ready to bring this through, you know how they timing us out there. I got the 5-minute hit on the side. Sorry, boo. Are there any new developments that are coming up for Black Girls Run, Outdoor Afro, Black Girls Do Bike, and how can people get involved?
Yeah, mine's back open. So we're happy to have our conference coming back this September in Charlotte, Sweat With Your Soul, SOLE. So it'll be a 2-day conference, a 10K and a half marathon. We have our keynote, Layla Ali, and then we're doing national meetups across the country, but our runs have resumed. Ladies are back running, races are back. So yeah, we're just encouraging women to continue hitting you where we can welcome you with open arms and get you out on the pavement. And so go to blackgirlsrun.com to find a community near you as well.
Outdoor Afro across all the platforms. And as you've heard, nature's cool now. Lots of people are interested, but they want to find communities of people to do it. Also can talk on the trail about where to get your hair done, where to get the good food. You know, so it's about community and relationships. And you don't have to come in being someone who provides the opportunity for you to come as you are. And you'll be prepared to know what to expect and also be successful and find your community. And so we also are running a swim program because the Black drowning rate is off the hook. And so it is our challenge and opportunity to teach every child and their caregiver how to join up with Outdoor Afro, and we will help you find the way, especially if there are young people in your life who don't know how. Because a child who doesn't know how to swim is not going to ease into a tippy kayak. They're not going to care about plastic in the ocean. So this is our initiative to make a difference in the world. And then finally, I have a book coming out.
Yes.
So I have my sold on November the 1st officially, but you can pre-sale it now. It's called Nature Swagger. Visions and Joy, Visions Yours. And we have some bookmarks. If you can raise your hand, Candace, if you'd like one, and would love for you to buy the book, and just so thankful to be here and to share what's new.
It's blackgirlsdobike.org, and I would say look us up, join us. We're here for you. We'll help you transition from wherever you are to wherever you need to be. A meetup, which I'm super excited about for 2 reasons. I'm hosting it in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is my hometown, and we're expecting 250 ladies, 3 days straight, kickoff party, several bike rides, and more. So you're all invited. And I would just say that we're all connected. I think that's what we all have in common, and we've all found different ways to do it. But the goal is the same, and I think we all realize that we have the need, or else you wouldn't be here today. So, at large.
Thank you. So I hope if you take anything away from the stage today, just know that the outdoors is for us in our community. To entry, they will make sure that you are all good, whether it's running. We're not saying you got to do a 10K. We can start with something smaller. Ruth said we can stroll, we ain't gotta climb out. We can start you on training wheels if you don't know how to ride a bike. So at the end of the day, we got something for everyone here, okay? And so I wanna thank Ford for bringing us about the joy of wellness. Thank you ladies for joining me. Have an amazing day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And stay tuned with us during the Essence Fest and make sure to use the hashtag #OurTime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.